Welcome to CHM5901 Research Methodology in Chemistry. And the first part of this course, the topic will be on characterization of research. Means what is research all about? And why do you need to take this course to be able to propose a good research, as well as why you need to know the principle of research as well as the ethics in conduct. So what is it about, research methodology, and why do you need to take this course? I have discussed this during my introduction, my video on introduction. So what will be the benefit as well has been introduced. Anyway, I will definitely touch on this along the way of this topic. Right, so how, these are the benefits and the why factor, why do you have to take this course? To prepare you for your short project, which is for master's dissertation or for your PhD dissertation, and to groom you on how to prepare research proposal, starting from how to develop a good introduction, problem statement, literature, experimental design, and so on. And to groom you on how to pitch, because once you have developed the proposal, it is important for you to deliver the proposal. If it is, you have an idea and it is on the papers, definitely it's not going to be very beneficial if someone didn't hear about your proposal. So along the way to guide you also on how to conduct your research project. Once you have a good proposal and you have pitched to the person in charge, all right, or to the person that you wish to have support from, and then the next part will be to conduct your research project once it is approved, right? So on how to carry on, we will guide you on how to carry on that research project and on how to manage along the way, because there'll be a lot of problems. Probably there'll be hiccups or glitches anywhere. So how to tackle that. And after you have finished and obtained all the necessary data, we will guide you on how to report the data in the form of thesis, in the form of scientific journals, and probably in the form of scientific writing in magazine as well as newspapers. And this project will be evaluated first in a written form, 20%, 2 presentations of your research proposal, 20%, assignments on a few things, on the, probably how do you set up your experimental designs and data analysis, so that will be 30%, and then final exam, 30%. And we have given you a module, so will this course benefit you? Well, definitely. Okay, so the first part will be research characterization. So the purpose of this topic is to get you to understand the many types of research that you can do. So it's not just in the lab. So it's not just a survey. There's a lot of other research that you can do. And the second learning objective is for you to internalize, to grab the idea, the principle, the basic principle of all research, regardless of the types of research. And the third one is to really internalize the ethics in doing research, because that will determine how good the data that you have obtained and how good the output and the impact from your research project. So research is the study, investigation. So definitely one thing that you have to grab from here is the purpose of research is to solve problems, okay? So since we have a lot of problems, you look at the right, you look at the left, and definitely we are surrounded with problems. It's just that which problem that we wish to solve, as well as are you capable of to solve which problem. So some research are done to describe the situation. Some research, yeah, probably this For example, the prevalence of these COVID-19 in certain places. So research are done by data collection, probably by surveys, to have the demographic of the how bad is the COVID-19 in that particular place. So that is one type of research that you can do. Some research is to answer questions. For example, if you are teaching and the class have difficulties in understanding a certain science principle, for example, and have a very high failure rate, then you conduct a research on what is the problem with your students, that they don't get the idea of these science, or they fail a lot. A lot of them failed in that subject. So you can do some research. So from there, you can get true pictures of the things and what are the problems, okay? Definitely, if the data is good from that research, it will help society to understand. It will help ministries or government to have a solution, a policy based on the data of the research that you have done, okay? So from research, you can provide information and certain action can be carried out. Research can explain the problem, okay, and suggest the solution. Okay, again, this is the same thing, okay? And it can lead to action, definitely. Okay, in conducting research, okay, the first thing is it has to be done. It cannot just be, it has to be done by somebody. It cannot just be out of thin air. So before you start doing the data collection, okay, there are a few things that you have to think about, which is the theories involved, okay? What are the previous theories that has been accepted? And then the methods involved, what kind of methods that you wish to adopt, okay? What kind of method do you wish to adopt? And techniques of conducting research, okay? Techniques can be different techniques. For example, if it is science-based, most of the time you have to be in the lab. If it is like data collection, then you have to do surveys, and probably you can just do literature review, collecting the data from books, from journals, or from other resources, and then you analyze the data. So there are many techniques of conducting research. And what kind of research that you wish to do? Well, you can have of your interest, for example, based on your background and as based on the fund that you receive, as well as what kind of organization that you are in. So sometimes we are limited by these guides, and so it's not as free of, everything is free. So you have to comply to the probably the fund provider, as well as the organization that you're working. So it's good to have the interests of your own self, but then, well, that depends on the situation. Okay, so there are basic research, applied research, axioms, blah, 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 until comparative research. There are so many things, though I'm not capable to explain everything, but basic research means that you're doing fundamental, okay? In science, we have fundamental as well as applied research, probably in non-science also. And explanatory research means lower, much fundamental, and theory testing is theory building. Exploratory is much fundamental compared to basic research and comparative research. So these are the definition of basic research. so I'm not going to go through anyway. These you can find in, if you just Google, then you can find the definition anyway. So most of us will involve in basic research or applied research, as well as explanatory when you are doing something related to society, right? Well, this is the most important things. When you are doing research, these are things that you have to take into account. Very important. One is representativeness, meaning that if you have samples, it has to be representative, okay? You have to learn the technique on how to do sampling. Validity means that the method or any other techniques that you wish to carry out should at least be acceptable methods. Yeah, I mean, you can do a new method, you can develop a new method, but it has to be validated against acceptable method before, okay? The third one is reliability of the data. Okay, when we're talking about reliability, we are talking about the data obtained, on how you do it in the lab, or if you are doing surveys, if you are doing literature review study, the sources must be reliable. If you are doing survey, then the interviews must be reliable. How many samples? What are the background of the people that you have interviewed? So it has to be reliable. And if you are doing experiments in the lab, whether the methods that you have adopted is reliable, and you yourself, or the one that is conducting the research, must be reliable. Okay, there's a lot of definition of reliability. We can discuss this if you wish. What kind of reliability that you're talking about? Definitely, the person has to be trusted, no bias involved, and then you know about the sources of the literature review is reliable enough, as well as you know, it has to be from trusted sources. Okay, so number 4, replication. So when we do, especially in science in the lab, when we do analysis, okay, and when we obtain samples, when we do analysis, you need to have replicates. Yeah, it cannot be just one analysis and you just accept the data. Okay, so we have to do a lot of replicates, and you have to do statistical analysis on the data, whether you have a very good. So replication is very important because you wish to look at the distribution of data, whether you have a very good distribution or the results are way off from each other. So it's very important the replication is done, even though you have a very small sample. You have to think about the strategy on how to do the replicates. So it's not just acceptable if you do it once and that's it. You think that the data is acceptable. No, it's not. Number 5 is objectivity. It means that you carry on the research based on the objective that you have drafted in your research proposal. So that will give you the focus, and that will give you so that you can fulfill the milestone in the time that you have planned. Okay, precision and measurement, right. So you know the measurement should be done in a correct way, and the data should be precise. So it means the data should be treated using certain certain statistical tools, and then you have to look at the result, whether it is, you know, looks okay or it looks weird. Then if that happens, then you have to do it again, especially in science. You have to do it many, many times. It cannot be just you're happy with what you have done and this is the results and I wish to finish this. And no, that is not how science research is being carried out. You have to be very And you need to have analytical mind to think about the result. Why is this happening? And why the result is like this? And if it is, for example, weird, then you have to carry again. Okay. The other one is ethics. Okay, which is very important. Is the these are the few things of that you need to have in you before you carry out the research. One is you have to be honest. Okay, definitely you cannot fabricate the data, falsify or change the data, and then have a just to finish up. Then you have fabricate, or you have wrong data, but you just carry on with the data. So honesty should be in you. Objectivity, again, I have discussed that. Okay, integrity. So once you are honest, then you have this integrity. Okay, carefulness means that before you do things, you plan first. Before you do some interviews, you have to consider a lot of things. And then try to keep your records, your data in many places so that you don't have to worry when things happens, like your laptop crash, or your lab is down with fire, or something happened to the lab. So please keep your data, all right, in a good place. And openness, okay, this is something subjective, because sometimes the data cannot be shared. That depends on whether you are working with certain organization or your supervisors wish to patent, and so it's not really openness is not compulsory. Respect for IP means that if it is someone else's work and has been protected with certain patents, copyright, then you have to ask permission if you want to use it, as well as if it is not, then you might be doing what we call as infringement of the data protected by the IP. So confidentiality. So let's say if you are doing surveys, and so there are certain ethics that you have to think about, the background of the interviewee, okay, and then the data, how to protect their data, okay, and responsible publication, for example. So once you have completed the data and you put it in certain reports, again, you don't change the data. So the result should be based on the data, and you don't manipulate the data. So responsible publication. Responsible mentoring means that the supervisors, or you yourself as supervisors, probably respect for colleagues. So for example, you can acknowledge them in your publications, in your writing, okay, regardless if it is not a journal, probably in books, or probably in popular writing, in magazines as well. You should acknowledge your colleagues who has contributed in the work. So social responsibility, yeah, you can, well, you wish to do something, the analysis on certain situation, then your report should do more good than harm. So I hope that you understand the writing that you do, or the output that you should be gearing towards a good, good impact on the social or on the society. So avoid doing something negative. So the other one is non-discrimination. So when you plan research, so try to avoid discrimination factors, okay, right? And competence. Right, so when you do, that's why when you construct a research proposal, one thing is you know your background and you know that you are capable to do it. If you're not capable, for example, some part of your research requires some knowledge which you do not have, then you should rope in somebody else who have the knowledge on that particular part, so that the research is carried out nicely. So it's not like you don't know and you just ignore it and you think that you're right. So the science must be good, must be solid. And if you have any legal issue, for example, if your research involves ethics, you need to apply for ethics, then it has to be done at the early stage. Okay, so if your research involves animal care, then there are a few forms, or there are a few applications that you have to fill up. So make sure that you plan this during your research proposal. So I think that's it. So those are the research characterization in general. So the first the first point that I talk about is the types of research that you can do. So there are many types, it's not limited to what I have discussed. The second one is the principle, is in general form. So all the research must have that, for example, validity, reliability, replications, ethics, and yeah, it requires that to conduct a research. If not, then the research output will be biased, prone to bias, and it will not be beneficial to, and it will not be objective to the one that you wish to achieve. And the third one, the ethics, so like honesty, integrity, those are very important, because we can't afford to have data fabrication, plagiarism, as well as wrong conclusion towards wrong output. Wrong outputs, and then we have a wrong conclusion that will actually have a very bad impact to probably the society as well as to your grant provider. So thank you. I'll see you next for the research proposal development. Thank you so much.